You so much, everyone, for being here tonight. We are having a webinar on media-rich resources for teaching the events and impact of 9/11. We are approaching the 25th anniversary this year. And so in case you are teaching this in the classroom, we wanted to equip you with some great free resources that you can use integrated into your curriculum. Before we get started, I'd love to do a little context setting. We are GBH, which is Boston's PBS station. We produce about a fourth of the content that you see on PBS and PBS Kids. You'll see hopefully some familiar faces right here on the slide, including Arthur, Nova, American Experience, and a lot of other wonderful brands. And we are celebrating actually our 75th anniversary this year, contributing to the public media space. One of the things as a part of our work and something that we're incredibly proud of is something called PBS Learning Media, which is our free educational platform that provides a lot of tools for teachers. We co-founded and we co-manage this platform along with PBS, and including making a lot of the content that you find on this platform. We're very proud of having over 15 million users and 75 million page views in the 2024-2025 school year. And we're hoping that you love the stuff on the site as much as we do. So our agenda for this evening, starting with some welcome and introductions, then we're going to show you some new resources, new video resources and an interactive lesson for teaching 9/11. We're also going to share with you some Frontline resources, including a sneak peek of what's coming this season on Frontline. And then we're going to hear from our partners at Stories from the Stage. We're going to share some wonderful first-person narratives and other ideas for how to use kind of first-person stories in the classroom. Then we'll end with some Q&As and some final remarks. Great, so it is my pleasure to introduce three wonderful speakers this evening. I'll start with Mel Bissell. She is our social studies curriculum specialist at GBH in Boston. She is a career educator who has worked in high schools and middle schools as a teacher and curriculum coordinator. She was a teacher educator for Boston College in an in-school-based setting. Her experience includes teaching and administrative roles in schools serving students from low-income families, and she is passionate about high-quality, engaging curriculum being available to all teachers and students. Next, we have Elizabeth Gardner with over 15 years of experience in media production. She focuses on creating impactful short-form content that fosters civic engagement and critical thinking. At GBH, she leads teams to produce innovative digital video series and multimedia curricula, such as Game Changers and Why It Matters, aligning with GBH's mission to amplify diverse perspectives in public media. And lastly, we have Patricia Alvarado Nunez, who is an award-winning media producer based in Boston, celebrated for her powerful storytelling and commitment to social and cultural issues. She's an executive producer of Stories from the Stage, a national series that has earned numerous honors, including 2 Webby Awards, a Gracie Award, Signal Award, Anthem Award, and a Public Media Award. We are so excited to have all these wonderful presenters here with us tonight, and I will kick it over to Mel, who will be starting us off. Thanks so much again for joining us.
Thank you, Nikki. Welcome, everyone. Before I talk about 4 new resources, which we are very excited about and are ready to go for your classrooms this fall, we just want to talk a little bit about teaching 9/11 and how it looks in 2026. So 4 things I wanted to mention. First was, of course, it's the 25th anniversary, and you're going to get more questions than previous years probably. Because it is going to get a lot of attention. We want to make sure you're well armed with high quality resources so that you can help students understand this pivotal date in history. September 11th, 2001 as history. Current 9th graders were born about 10 years after September 11th, so it is truly history for them, and we need to make sure there are curricular materials available so it can be taught as history. The age of teachers. Right now, it's estimated about 30% of public school teachers are 35 or younger, meaning they were 10 or younger or not born yet when September 11th happened. So again, we want to make sure these strong curricular resources are available to all. And then finally, and perhaps most importantly, there are a lot of misconceptions about 9/11. A lot of students think it was simply a couple of planes flew into a couple of towers in New York City, and they need to understand the scope of it. They need to understand Shanksville and the Pentagon. They need to understand that it had national and international implications, and we're still living with a different world because of that pivotal day. A lot of students get the sequence wrong and think that The Iraq War and Afghanistan wars both started prior to 9/11, and 9/11 was some sort of retaliation. So we want to straighten out things like that. And finally, and perhaps most importantly of all, we know misinformation is rampant. Kids are going to see 9/11 inaccuracy online, and our resources provide a much needed fact-based alternative for them, where all our resources are very carefully researched and reviewed, and they're going to help students be better informed consumers of media, including social media. Nikki, next slide, please. We are excited to share with you tonight 4 new resources that are ready to go and are free to all. The first 3 bullet points there all are titles of video resources, what happened on September 11th, how the world changed, and memorials and remembrances. And then the last bullet point there is an interactive lesson. I'll explain that a little more clearly in a few minutes. All of these are free and available to you at pbslearningmedia.org, and all of them come with support materials, and I'll explain more about those in just a moment. The 3 videos I wanted to point out are all intentionally created to be usable in the classroom. They're all about 5 minutes, 5 to 6 minutes in length, because we know teachers appreciate having usable video that isn't a 45-minute documentary. All right, next slide, please. The first video was very intentionally designed to lead students through the day, and I think of it as a really visually engaging timeline of what happened that morning and helping them to understand really what happened that day, where the planes took off from, where they crashed, and all the details of the day, so they get a better understanding of truly what happened on that day. On this home page here, you can see the video, and then below, quick description about. And then also, when you are online, look at the standards that will connect to the standards where you teach, in the state where you teach. So those are all available, so you know that the standards are connecting to what you are required to teach or expected to teach. To the right, you see support materials for teachers. And Nikki, if you could show teaching tips. Every resource that we develop has an essential question. Here it's what happened on September 11th, 2001, and in what ways were the events of this day unprecedented. There are supporting questions, historical thinking skills, and then before, while, and after viewing questions. Before viewing for all of these resources, we make sure to highlight that students need to remember to be respectful, because there could be classmates or teachers or people in their lives who were personally affected by the tragedy that day. So just a reminder to all about that. And then we also have a section called Taking It Further. If there's something that your students were particularly interested in, or that where you want students to dig a little deeper, we have suggestions for that. One of our Taking It Further suggestions here is suggesting that students interview adults, family members, teachers, people in their community to get firsthand information about what they remember from September 11th. We really want this to be the kind of content that students are talking about on the car ride home or at the dinner table, and give them an opportunity of really learning some firsthand history as they're studying this in school. Nikki, if you could show now, we're going to just watch a segment of this video, and you can see how we laid out the sequence of the events on that day.
Were planned and carried out by 19 men affiliated with Al-Qaeda, a terrorist network led by Osama bin Laden. Al-Qaeda spent years planning and training for a deadly attack on the United States. On the morning of September 11th, 5 hijackers boarded American Airlines Flight 11, and another 5 boarded United Airlines Flight 175 in Boston. At 7:59 a.m., Flight 11, carrying 76 passengers and 11 crew members, took off from Logan. 15 minutes later, at 8:14 a.m., Flight 175, with 51 passengers and 9 crew members, followed. Both flights were bound for Los Angeles, but the hijackers diverted the planes to New York. At 8:46 a.m., Flight 11 was deliberately crashed into the North Tower of the World Trade Center. 17 minutes later, at 9:03 a.m., Flight 175 slammed into the South Tower, leaving no doubt that America was under attack. American Airlines Flight 77 departed from Washington Dulles International Airport for Los Angeles at 8:20, carrying 53 passengers, 6 crew members, and 5 hijackers. It was crashed into the western side of the Pentagon at 9:37 a.m., killing all people on board and 125 civilian and military personnel inside the building. At 8:42 a.m., United Airlines Flight 93 departed from Newark Airport bound for San Francisco, with 33 passengers, 7 crew members, and 4 hijackers. When passengers on board learned of the attacks on the World Trade Center via phone calls, they courageously voted to storm the cockpit, preventing the hijackers from reaching their intended target, likely the U.S. Capitol. Instead, as the passengers attempted to regain control of the cockpit, the hijackers diverted the plane and crashed it into an empty field in Shanksville, Pennsylvania. Everyone on board was killed, but there were no fatalities on the ground. From the earliest moments, crew members and passengers stood at the forefront of warning and resistance. Flight 11 attendants Amy Sweeney and Betty Ong calmly and clearly communicated urgent updates to American Airlines staff on the ground, thereby alerting the world of the hijacking.
Which flight are you on? Okay, my name is Betty Ong. I'm number 3 on flight 11. We can't breathe. I don't know. I think we're getting hijacked.
Their calls revealed a terrifying scene: attacks, murders, and the threat of a bomb in the cockpit. Captain John Oganowski, a Massachusetts resident, Vietnam veteran, and veteran commercial pilot, was murdered while at the controls of Flight 11, but helped activate the cockpit radio.
Thanks, Nikki. The video goes on to talk about Daniel Lewin, Captain John Oganowski, and then also shows that really powerful visual of all of the radar images of all the planes in flight, and then slowly it thins out, and then pretty soon there are none, and talks about the unprecedented ground stop. And so the whole morning is laid out for students in video 1 and is supported by our teacher support materials and those teaching tips. Next slide, please. The second video focuses on how the world changed, and it comes again with all the same teacher supports that you saw with the first video. And this video covers a range of ways the attacks impacted the United States, popular pastimes like movies and sports, what happened with Muslims in America and anti-Muslim bias, what happened with national security, and so on. We'll show you a clip now. It begins in the middle of the video. The first part of the video shows rescue crews trying to sift through the rubble at Ground Zero looking for survivors, and it also talks about how the markets and the economy were impacted.
Daily life was disrupted in other ways as well. Major League Baseball games and the National Football League season were delayed. Other cultural events, like the Primetime Emmy Awards and Latin Grammy Awards, were moved or canceled, while countless other public gatherings paused in tribute and uncertainty. In response to 9/11, the U.S. government made major changes to how it approached national security. On October 7, 2001, it launched the War on Terror, beginning with military action in Afghanistan against al-Qaeda and later expanding to Iraq. At home, agencies were reorganized to prevent future attacks. The Department of Homeland Security was formed to coordinate security, while the Office of the Director of National Intelligence aimed to improve communication between intelligence agencies. Everyday security also changed. The Transportation Security Administration, or TSA, implemented stricter airport rules and screenings, while the USA Patriot Act expanded government surveillance powers over phone calls, emails, and financial records.
With my signature, this law will give intelligence and law enforcement officials important new tools to fight a present danger.
In the wake of the 9/11 attacks, anti-Muslim bias increased. President Bush visited the Washington Islamic Center on September 17, 2001, and delivered a speech urging calm and respect for fellow citizens.
America counts millions of Muslims amongst our citizens. And Muslims make an incredibly valuable contribution to our country.
Thousands of people were injured during the attacks, and many developed long-term health problems, including respiratory illnesses, cancers, and PTSD. First responders and recovery workers received specialized medical care and compensation from 9/11 funds to address these ongoing effects.
Great. Thank you, Nikki. We can now shift and look at the interactive lesson before we look at the third video. And first, just a word on what an interactive lesson is. It's a student-facing and student-paced interactive focused on an essential question. And it's a series of pages that feature comprehensive information presented in all different ways: video, text, images, charts. And it's an opportunity for students to demonstrate understanding of the content and gain skills through submitting work on every page, which the teacher can collect digitally when the student is done with the interactive lesson. This interactive lesson provides additional context and content beyond the videos. And this is page 1, and as you can see, there's an essential question, as there always is. And then, Nikki, if you could show the menu for the interactive lesson. On pages 2, 6, and 8, the videos are embedded. So this interactive lesson includes all 3 of the videos. And then it includes more. It includes more content, more context. And so I want to give you a couple of examples of how we do that. Nikki, if you could go to page 3. I mentioned that the video showed Amy Sweeney, Betty Ann Ong, you saw them, Captain John Oganowski, and Daniel Lewin. This is an interactive image, and students can click on each person and learn a little bit more than you learned in the video, a little more biographical information. And additionally, we had more room here, so we also added Todd Beamer from the Shanksville flight, and we added Father Michael Judge, who was part of the New York City Fire Department. He was their chaplain. He was a part of the first responder team, and he died on 9/11. So this is one way the interactive lesson kind of lets us expand on what was in the videos, but the students see the videos as well. Another example of that is on page 5. So Nikki, if you could go there. We talked about in the second video how the world changed, and there are so many ways that the world changed that aren't necessarily reflected in the video, or that can be shared in a different way so that students can see it in a different way, perhaps respond to it in a different way. This chart here, 9/11 numbers, shows both the scope of the harm of 9/11 by talking about how many people were injured, how many died, the size of the debris field, all the really impactful aspects of the tragedy, and also emphasizes the national, and international scope. It talks about how, over 90 countries or around 90 countries were represented in the fatalities. Over 130 countries sent support. All 50 states sent support afterwards. All 50 states were represented in the fatalities. And it gives students an idea of just how massive the scope of 9/11 was. And finally, Nikki, if you could go to page 9. At the end of our interactive lessons, there's always an opportunity for students to do sort of a culminating activity. There are 2 options with this. The first is to write a paragraph responding to the essential question. And the second option is to design a 9/11 memorial. And I'll explain a little bit more about that after we watch the third video. So if we can go to the next slide for that. Before we, oh, sorry, Nikki, do you mind? Yeah. Before we go to the video, just wanted to point out this quote by Edward Linenthal, public historian. Our choices about who gets remembered, what gets remembered, where acts of remembrance take place, and how we express the significance of remembrance is as much or more about the future than the past. That's a really powerful idea for students as they look at memorials and they think for 9/11 and think about this was built for them because they represent the future post 9/11, but also it's teaching them about the past. And if we can watch this video clip, and then I'll explain the final project.
The September 11th, 2001 attacks and the sacrifices of those who were injured or killed are commemorated through memorials at the local, national, and international levels. Today, at Ground Zero in New York City, a new World Trade Center stands adjacent to the National September 11th Memorial and Museum, which honors those who died, displays artifacts, and provides educational resources. The memorial includes 2 reflecting pools set within the footprints of the Twin Towers, bordered by bronze walls inscribed with the names of all who perished. The memorial glade, a curving pathway with symbolic stone amidst ivy, grass, and trees, is dedicated to those who were sickened or lost their lives due to toxins at the crash sites. Annually, on September 11th, family members and others affected by the attacks gather to publicly read all 2,977 names.
So at the end of this video or at the end of the interactive lesson, one of the suggested activities is for students to create their own memorial for 9/11, and to do so very intentionally, we give them guidelines. And we want them to see that memorials reflect who, as a society, we believe should be remembered and should be people we learn from and people who we should honor and mourn. This particular activity, we ask students to think about where it would be, the memorial would be located, what neighborhood, town, state. Who does the memorial recognize? Is it first responders? Is it somebody from a particular state or town? Is it people who are killed and injured at crash sites? So they pick that. A description of the memorial, like a statue, park, something else. And then, importantly, how will visitors interact with the memorial? Are they there to learn? Are they there to quietly reflect? And other details to sort of round out what their memorial would look like, including a design of that. So we're really excited that these resources are ready to go for the classroom this fall. I know the links have been put in the chat. And now you'll get to learn more from my colleague Elizabeth Gardner and some additional resources, particularly related to Frontline, that you can use in the classroom.
Hi, all. I am Elizabeth Gardner. Thank you so much for being here tonight. Nikki, we can go to the next slide, please. I am part of the education team that works closely with Frontline to adapt their films and digital offerings for use in the classroom. I'm sure we probably have some Frontline super fans in the audience, but just in case there are some of you that aren't as familiar with the program, I wanted to provide a brief introduction to the series and tell you a little bit about why we think it can be such a powerful tool to use in the classroom. Frontline's investigative documentary journalism tackles the tough, controversial, and complex stories that shape our times, including stories about immigration, politics, war and conflicts, the economy, social issues, and more. The rigorous reporting, nuanced context, and global perspective allows students to develop a deeper understanding of current events and their historical underpinnings. And Frontline's dense and sometimes demanding journalism requires students to deeply engage with the materials and practice their critical thinking skills. And we have heard from teachers that they are delighted to see how students rise to the challenge when they engage with Frontline. Next slide, please. So an example of the reporting that Frontline is known for can be found in this resource, the immediate U.S. response to September 11th, 2001. This is a video resource featuring 3 excerpts from the film America After 9/11. The three excerpts are: a nation unites, a president is tested, and the world responds. We developed this resource specifically to complement the resources that Mel just presented. While those provided a primer on the events of that day, an examination of the short and long-term impacts of 9/11, and memorials and remembrances, as you saw, this resource allowed a more focused, detailed exploration of the immediate response in the wake of the attacks. Nikki, if we could go to the resource on learning media. Great, thank you so much. So, and then if we could open the teaching tips. So the teaching tips here, the essential question that we're asking is, how did the events of September 11th, 2001 bring the United States together in an unprecedented way? And how did President Bush and the international community respond in those first critical hours? And as you can see, the teaching tips, as Mel previewed earlier, have the supporting questions, the historical thinking skills, and the before viewing, while viewing, and after viewing questions. We're going to show you a clip right now from the resource. We're going to show you the second clip, A President is Tested.
By the evening of 9/11, President George W. Bush finally arrived at the White House.
President Bush is back at the White House. He's about to address.
He was flown by Marine One, the Marine helicopter, to the South Block of the White House.
He'd been on the move since he'd been told about the attack that morning.
There he is, the president coming back from a trip that has taken him first to Florida today.
I whispered into his right ear, a second plane hit the second tower. America is under attack.
The Secret Service took over.
Where is the president of the United States? Yeah, but pretty soon the country needs to know where he is.
The president kept out of Washington for hours.
They are still quite worried about his own security.
The president was in parts very much in a bubble. He was evacuated from Florida. He was on Air Force One, flying around the country.
President Bush was flown secretly today from Florida, first to Louisiana.
When the country saw the president a couple of times that day, he seemed unready. He looked like he was the hunted, not the hunter.
Nearly 3,000 people were dead. In the days ahead, Bush would be haunted by the question of what he could have done to prevent it.
Remember, it was the worst terrorist attack ever on the United States, and it happened on his watch. As president, you do feel a certain responsibility when something as serious as that happens while you're the commander-in-chief.
The president now just a few moments away from addressing the nation from the Oval Office.
George W. Bush, live in the White House, about to make his comments.
That night, the nation waited to hear from him.
Well, it's a critical time for him. The nation is being tested. The new president is being tested as well.
He would lay out a stark vision of the new world after 9/11.
Now we go to the Oval Office and President Bush.
America was targeted for attack because we're the brightest beacon for freedom and opportunity in the world, and no one will keep that light from shining. Today, our nation saw evil, the very worst of human nature.
George Bush, in his mind, I think, did understand that something very evil had happened, and it had happened. It was an evil act, 9/11. It killed thousands of civilians.
Tonight, I ask for your prayers for all those who grieve. And I pray they will be comforted by a power greater than any of us, spoken through the ages in Psalm 23. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil, for you are with me.
Great, thank you, Nikki. So there In observance of the 25th anniversary of 9/11, Frontline is actually bringing back several films from the archives that have not been available for some time. So these will be streaming on Frontline YouTube channel later in August and September. The Dark Side on August 18th, Top Secret America on August 25th. Faith and Doubt at Ground Zero was actually one of my favorite films, really beautiful film. And Hunting bin Laden. So all of these can be found on the YouTube channel. I just want to also note that Frontline, all of their films from recent years are available both on their YouTube channel and on the Frontline website. The full films are available there. And then the resources that we've created from those films can be found on PBS Learning Media in the Frontline collection. So those will all have excerpts from the Frontline films that are in that sweet spot for use in the classroom, between 3 to 6 minutes, with all of the learning materials that Mel and I have showed you tonight. Next slide, please. Thanks, Nikki. So there's a new season of Frontline beginning in September. And the education team will also be starting our new season with Frontline in September and developing resources from some of the films that you're going to see in this clip. So we're going to show you now a sneak peek of the films that are coming this season from Frontline. I think one of them's already was just shown, but the rest are coming. Thanks so much.
In a complex and changing world, clarity depends on a source of trust.
Who can I trust? Who can I trust?
Coming this season to Frontline, new investigations into the powerful.
The grandest reception that we've seen for any foreign leader during this second Trump term.
The Saudis knew how to play Donald Trump. They'd seen this kind of person before. He's kind of a mirror image of many Saudi princes.
What were they offering?
An extremely strong strategic relationship. He sees that there's kind of a realist calculation about what America's interests are, and it is to remain on side and to remain very closely allied with MBS.
Politics, diplomacy, this is all just like business as far as he's concerned. When you feel you have the endorsement of the United States, effectively you feel you have a carte blanche to pursue whatever you want.
Who can I trust?
Our fractured politics.
There are fundamental issues that we have to sort out, and there's no easy way to do it.
What I hope will happen would be to see the people that are kind of forgotten. I want them to have a better life.
Everyone is going through something. What does the future hold?
How does the country decide to understand what it sees happening around it, and how does it react to that?
The human toll.
An average person wouldn't even know about this. It is not the typical lifestyle a kid was meant to be having. It's an extremely hard lifestyle, but if you can adapt, you can make it.
I feel embarrassed a lot about being homeless. I don't think this is something I should have to, my family should have to deal with. I don't know how it could get better, but I'm hoping it will.
Who can I trust?
Scams that are more sophisticated and far more callous. Now they don't just bankrupt their victims, they break their hearts.
It's hard to know if the person on the other side of the screen is who they say they are.
I always tell victims, as smart as you are, you were no match for people who do this all day, every day.
Who would make something like that up? It was so elaborate.
And the forces shaping the future.
From Texas to North Carolina, from New England to the Midwest, communities are facing a growing threat from flash flooding.
Federal aid cuts, new restrictions on FEMA funding.
Without federal aid, it's the people who live here that are going to have to pay for the recovery.
The CDC is reducing the number of childhood vaccinations it recommends.
Measles cases are continuing to climb in the U.S.
This fight between evidence-based treatment of diseases like measles and the distrust spread by anti-vaccine advocates.
The ethics isn't just on the side of the critics. The ethics is also on the side of those who say, do good in the name of children, do good in the name of public health.
It's time to call the third bubble of our century the AI bubble. The heads of some major tech and finance companies have warned that these stock valuations are getting too high. If they fall short of expectations, investors will pull back and the bubble will pop.
It would seem as though that could have massive ramifications.
If the rest of the economy is generally weaker, and now the growth engine of the economy sputters, then that means the whole U.S. economy would likely slow down as a result of that.
Covering stories from around the world.
This is a humanitarian emergency.
إنه الحرب مو أصعب شيء ممكن يمر على الإنسان كصعوبة الأشياء اللي إجت بعدها ممكن الإنسان بأي لحظة يتغير.
And here at home.
Who should be held accountable?
You never know what will happen in your life.
I'm still learning to this day.
For many living in poverty, the dreams and the hopes are actually there so you don't have to deal with the reality.
Reaching new audiences with trustworthy journalism and stories that matter.
Now I'm going to hand it over to my colleague, Patricia Alvarado Nunez. Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Hi, all. I am Patricia Alvarado Nunez, and I am very happy to be here with you tonight to introduce you to a story from the stage. Nikki, the next slide. A storytelling series where ordinary people share true personal stories in front of a live audience. And, you know, in our very complex world, we see so much division in the news, in social media. We hear so much about our differences, what separates us, where we disagree, and what pulls us apart. And what we hope is that the stories from the stage, what we try to do is to focus on what brings us together, the experiences, the emotions, hopes, fear, challenges, and joys that we share. Our life may look very different on the surface, but when we listen to someone tell a personal story, we often discover something familiar. We recognize feelings, we recognize a struggle, and sometimes we even recognize a little bit of ourselves in someone we may have thought may be very different from us. Next slide, please, Nikki. So Stories from the Stage started in 2017. It was a small live storytelling event at GBH, and since then it has grown to be a multi-platform series that can be found on television, radio, podcasts, streaming, YouTube, and social media. To date, we have held 82 live events, including some virtual events during COVID, and more than 7,000 people have stepped onto our stage. 7,000 people have attended our tapings, and more than 500 storytellers have stepped onto our stage. And we have created about 194 television episodes with more scheduled to premiere this September. Next slide, please. So who tells these stories for the Stories from the Stage? So one of the things that makes the show special is that our storytellers come from all walks of life. They are not necessarily professional storytellers. They are teachers, they are artists, veterans, parents, immigrants, students, first responders, business owners, from all walks of life, people with very different experiences and backgrounds. And they submit their stories, and you can go to the next slide so they can see all the different storytellers who have been with us, and they submit their stories, and once a story is selected, we pair the storyteller with a coach who helps them shape and prepare it for the stage. So what I would like to do now is to share 4 short clips from our 9/11 collection.
While I'm getting ready for work, Jack, the Army aide, calls me. He says, "Are you watching the news?" "No, turn on the news." One of the World Trade Center towers is burning. Billows of black smoke, sirens blaring. Jack explains. A plane flew into it. I don't think it was an accident. Together, we watch another plane crash through the South Tower. Jack says, "It's time to do our job."
It's 5 weeks after 9/11, and that means 15 days after the memorial service for my father, who was on the first plane. I'm in Khoja Bawadin, Afghanistan, a northern Afghanistan forlorn outpost where a few rebels are holding out against the Taliban. And I'm supposed to be an experienced Boston Globe war reporter who's come here to cover the conflict that America has entered in order to defeat the people who killed my father. And I'm starting to realize that I might not be up to the task.
And as we went onto the plane, I saw that it was a Boeing 737, which, depending on how it's configured, can hold as many as 200 people. On this flight, there were 3 passengers. I sat on the left side in an exit row aisle seat, and I noticed that one other passenger was in the same row and on the right side of the plane. And as he walked up the aisle, I noticed the crisply pressed white dress shirt and the dark, I think it was black, necktie and the perfectly maintained mustache. But then I noticed, above all, his olive skin. In truth, he could have been Pakistani, he could have been Indian, but through the fog of my overactive post-9/11 imagination, I saw him as Middle Eastern, whatever that means, or Arab, not Arab American, Arab. And I'm ashamed to say that I saw him immediately as a threat.
In 2015, maybe the improv had an impact. I finally say yes to this invitation to go on the anniversary to the events that they have. And I get off the subway and walk toward the newly built World Trade Center, and I start to feel this wave of dread. And my legs feel like sandbags, and my heart is heavy, and I have palpitations, and my throat is dry, and I go, here are these symptoms again. This is why I didn't want to come here. But I go, and I open the door to this event space, and it's a beautifully appointed banquet room, dimly lit, candles on each circular table with linen tablecloths, and on each table is a little plaque that identifies who will be sitting there to find your place. So over here is a sign that says Sandy Hook Trauma Team. And over here it says Boston Marathon Trauma Team. Over here, San Bernardino Trauma Team. And I find my table, which is a bunch of therapists like myself that are here alone. And the hum of people talking in that room, people who do this work, I feel an easing in my chest. I feel like I belong with these people. And the talks are wonderful, one after another. And the last one is an FBI agent who was the person responsible for the final disposition of the plane that flew into the Pentagon. And as she was going through these parts the last time, she saw something sticking out of the seat back. And she reaches in there and pulls out a pocketbook. And in this pocketbook is a wallet and letters that are folded up into tiny squares. And she realizes that these are letters that were written by a woman who knew what was happening, and she wanted to find any way she could to communicate with her family what was happening to her and what she was feeling for them. And she did everything she could to make that happen, and they put these letters together, and the FBI agent said she delivered them herself to the husband. And she said, "I'm so sorry it took us all this time to get these to you." And he said, "It's okay. My son is having a really rough go. And this is like she's still with us. It's just the right time for us." And to me, these letters are what hope looks like, because she knew that all was lost, and she did it anyway. And I feel wonder and awe. And I think I'll never again say that all is lost, because you never know.
Thank you, Nikki. And these 4 stories can be found on our YouTube, and they are 6 to 7 minutes long. And they are very, very different perspectives, as you saw, of that moment in their lives. And we have other playlists on YouTube as well. We have different subjects: motherhood and first responders, family, LGBTQ experiences, immigrant and refugees, indigenous stories, Black stories, Latino stories. We really have tried to take this collection and create this playlist so people have access to this content. And we have now heard from teachers who are using the stories from the stage in the classroom. Sometimes they are teaching storytelling itself, but sometimes the stories become a way to begin a conversation about a much larger subject. So they have told us that a personal story really can be a very, very accessible kind of entry point into a difficult conversation. Next one. So this is the reason why I am here sharing with you these resources today. And I also want to mention for the teachers and students in the area that we have monthly tapings in our studio in Boston. And that that's another way of experiencing May and June. So many opportunities to be part of that experience as well. And the last slide, Nikki. Yes. And if you would like to learn more about upcoming tapings or premieres, new stories, or if you think that you want to submit a story, or maybe one of your students would like to submit a story, you can please subscribe to our newsletter, and you will get information there on how to do all this. And I really hope that you explore the collection, use it, share it, and perhaps find a story that opens up a conversation that you didn't expect. Because that is what we hope, is that, we hope that we see each other through these stories and remind us of our shared humanity. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Now we have some time for some questions. If you have a question for any of our presenters, I'll ask everybody to come back onto screen. Please add your questions into the chat or into the Q&A box, and I will take a look right now to see if anything has come up while we have all been talking. Thank you again to all of our presenters. Just such a wealth of knowledge and wonderful resources. Let me scroll down and see if we've got any questions coming in, or if anything's come up recently. Yeah, I will just say this for everybody on here. We will send you a follow-up email tomorrow with a recording, plus a resource document giving you links to everything you saw here tonight and a copy of the slides as well. So that will be hitting your inbox tomorrow around probably 7 p.m. Great. I'm getting a lot of powerful materials and thank yous from our attendees. Thank you all for coming and joining us as you're either planning for back to school or already starting back to school. I can't believe we're already in back to school season. I'm not seeing any questions, but I'm seeing a lot of great responses and ideas about how to use a lot of these resources. Great. Great. Give it a few more seconds for everybody. No, just a lot of these are fabulous, which is wonderful. Our presenters did such a great job. Is there a certificate for attending? I'm happy to take this one. After this webinar, we will send you a short survey. We'll put a link in the chat to the survey, but also that'll be in that follow-up email I mentioned. Once you take that short survey, you'll get a certificate of attendance that you can download. Yep, and just a reminder, everything on PBS Learning Media is free. You can view it without logging in, But if you do want to use the interactive lesson platform and have students submit information and be able to see that, you do need to create an account, and your students will need an account to do that as well. I have a question. Do any of you do comparisons with Pearl Harbor? I'll turn that over to Mel.
We didn't take that approach with doing the resources, but I can certainly see the connection there. And I invite you to explore PBS Learning Media and the U.S. History Collection, and you can probably find lots of things that you could do sort of side by side with these resources. That's a great idea. I may take a look tomorrow to see to find some good pairings.
I have another question in. Are these resources available now online? Will they be there for the rest of the year?
Yes, they are there now. They're available online. They are available for the rest of the year. They are free.
They certainly are. Great. Just scrolling through to make sure I didn't miss any other questions. Great. Some teachers saying they have their students make the connections with Pearl Harbor as well. It's a great idea. Awesome. Oh, here we got something in the Q&A. Are there good resources for the Afghanistan war and war on terror after the attacks? Elizabeth, you might.
Yes, there are some good resources there, and those will be in the Frontline collection, and we can add those to the email as well. You can add a couple of those links in to the email that we send out tomorrow.
Yep. Certainly can. Great. Just giving it one more second for any more questions. Thanks. You're welcome. Oh, Sue's dropping some of the links in the chat.
Thank you, Sue.
Perfect. Great. All right. Give it one more second for more questions. Doesn't look like anything else is coming in. I am going to go through the rest of this presentation then. If you have questions that come up after, please feel free to email us and we will certainly get back to you. Oh, quickly, are there any resources for the withdrawal from Afghanistan? I don't know if Mel or Elizabeth.
I think there may be one that touches on it, so I'll need to double check that.
Yeah. Are you thinking Frontline, Elizabeth?
Yes.
Frontline collection?
It would definitely be Frontline.
Yep.
And I'll double check.
Great. Perfect. Let me share my screen then and end through the last part of this webinar. Closing remarks. Just wanted to plug that we will be at NCSS this year in Chicago. If anybody on this webinar is attending, we would love to see you there. We will have a booth. Come say hi. We will, if you tell us you're on this webinar, we will give you extra goodies and swag to take home with you for sure. I just wanted to plug a couple of our other big collections on PBS Learning Media. Again, these are all free, but I thought they might be of interest to you. Nuclear Weapons and Security Policy is a wonderful collection, and we are launching a new resource for that collection coming out at the end of this month, which will be a whole game that students can play and learn a whole bunch about different policies related to nuclear weapons. The U.S. History Collection has come up a couple of times, but that is just an absolute wealth of resources covering all the different eras in U.S. history courses, and it also has wonderful resources for digging into different historical thinking skills with your students. Really media rich, lots of timelines, interactives, and interactive lessons, as well as video. American Experience is another collection. Frontline is one of our wonderful ones based on our series for PBS. American Experience is another one of those wonderful collections where we take those documentaries, create create videos that are suited to a classroom length and create teaching tips and context for using them in the classroom. And then our civics collection, which is our companion collection to the U.S. history, has a lot of great resources for teaching civics. Here is that survey link that I mentioned. If you take this survey link at the end of it, you will get a certificate of attendance emailed to you after taking that link. This helps us just kind of do what we do better and gives us great ideas for new directions we can take our webinar series in. So we really appreciate you taking the time to do that. The survey closes at the end of this month. Wonderful. And then thank you so much. Here's our email. If any other questions come up, please don't be shy. Reach out. We love hearing from you. And again, we appreciate having you all join us this evening.